unhappy hairdressers in the comment section. So
is it really?
Yeah, naming haircuts. So they've been posting, I reckon, like weekly for a bit, where it's like obviously wolf cut, butterfly cut, mixie. There's a new one called Wixie, which is a short pixie haircut but with a winged fringe. So it's called a Wixie. And all these hairdressers in the comments are saying, "Oh, can we just stop with this? Naming haircuts, nothing's new, and everything." But what I feel from that is that people aren't ready. Well, there's obviously a generation gap where people, we all know like a shag's a shag and everything, but this whole naming of hair,
they don't. Up until about 2 or 3 years ago, people didn't know what a shag was because it was out of fashion for such a long time.
Yeah.
So when the shag came back, 2 years, 3 years ago, maybe, right? Just before lockdown, we started a shag. Yeah, we did one in lockdown. Do you remember?
You did, yeah.
I did one in lockdown on one of the things I did for Joico. And we did like a modern shag. And it was that was when it was getting quite big again. But it was something I was doing back in the 80s but a lot of people didn't know about it. And so it was easy to bring it back. Don't everybody know that? No, a lot of people don't know it. And like you said, there's a lot of new people in the industry, a lot of young people who are oblivious. You know, if you talk about, ABBA and places like people like that, and, Chrissy Hind of the Pretenders, and you talk about this or Debbie Harry, you go to 20 to 25-year-old now, they don't know Chrissy Hind is, they don't know who Debbie Harry is, who have these sort of iconic haircuts,
Well, talking about Debbie Harry, I did the show in Italy with Joico, David and Alberto.
Yeah.
And it was like a 70s called what was it called? The show, but it was all about 70s hair. And I had to do a blonde, and I was like, right, I'm going to do like a really sort of dirty blonde, modern day Debbie Harry. So when I brought my model up on stage, the audience were, at the beginning, I said, my next inspiration for this look is, if you can guess it, it's by the hair color. And she came up on stage, and I was like, can anybody guess who the inspiration for this was, being that she was blonde? And it was like silence. And then Alberto was translating, so I thought, maybe there's a translation issue. I said, Alberto, I'll give them a bit of a hint. Her first name was Debbie. And he went, Debbie? And they were like, I was like, her full name was Debbie Harry? And I was like, Debbie Harry? And they were like, no. And I was like, oh my God, what? Does nobody know who Debbie Harry from Blondie is?
Yeah.
And they were like, no.
I speak to my wife. My wife's, okay, so full disclosure, my wife's 20 years younger than me, right? I'll talk about Debbie Harry, and she goes, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
We were watching something the other night, and I was like, oh my God, look at that. I remember that from that shit. Yeah, that was the year I was born.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah, I'm old, but it's like, well, I'm not old, it's just like, it's, so, do you know that in lots of ways, I remember actually, I'm going to go off subject a little bit now because you always do, but because of that, like, do you remember when we first met and I was saying, mate, I don't want to be doing all this social media stuff.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I'm at the wrong side of my career. And I think it was you who said to me, mate, honestly, what you have is what everybody in my generation wants. You've got the knowledge, experience, you've done this, you've done that, all these different things. And I thought, well, yeah, I've literally traveled the world hairdressing, with a pair of scissors and a blow dryer.
Yeah.
I've been all over working with great brands and working with great artists and learning from each and every one of them, and we get together and I'll tell you a story, right? And 2 months after the we're done, and it's, oh my God, that's like crazy. But we did stuff like that, and like, and I remember like back in the day, well, especially at Sassoons, we always named a technique or named a haircut. And like when I first met Gianni and working with Gianni, who was the vision director of Joico originally back in like a few years ago, we would talk about that, and he'd say, "Oh, you remember this haircut? Or you remember like the Firefly? We talked about it last week, Firefly, or you did whatever the haircut we wanted to do." I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. It's a reference. I maybe won't recreate it, but that's the influence of what we wanted. So I had an idea of where to go with the technique, or whether it be like, like you said, a pixie cut, or or whatever, like a Mia Farrow or things. I would talk, people say, Mia who? Right, Mia Farrow. Okay, we won't talk about that. Rosemary's Babies, when she has all her haircut by Sassoons from this down her back to a short pixie haircut, back in the 60s. I think it was like, I don't know, 68, 69, that was then for the film Rosemary's Baby. And like it was a massive thing. He did it on set as well. He kept it on set. So, but yeah, two of my staff to know Madonna is, that's like class. I absolutely get that. Like, what an icon she is. Imagine not knowing where they are influenced. Look at the artist she's gone to influence. So if Madonna's gone on to influence all these other artists in that, a haircut, naming a haircut like a shag will go on to influence, like now the wolf cut, right? Which is basically a shag. I'm not decrying what a wolf cut is, but I'm just saying that the influence of it was a shag haircut.
Yeah.
Hence, then they move it on to a wolf cut,
Yeah.
So because a wolf cut, Trevor Sorby did a wolf cut back in probably 82. And it was nothing like a wolf cut we see on now. He basically had this head of hair, and then he put inside shape with it, with thinning shears. You had an inside shape, and it was like a halo of hair round, but it looked fluffy like wolf fur,
Yeah.
And that's what he called a wolf cut. He was up down on a guy. So that's so as soon as I heard wolf cut, oh my God, okay, is that coming back? This inside haircut.
Yeah.
Actually, it was like more of a shag shape, So that was a different way. I love naming haircuts. I don't know what everybody else thinks about naming them and also naming concepts.
Yeah, so that's what we've done 2 shows now. Well, we've done 3 with the Beautiful Youthful as well. But yeah, I mean, it's a way of being able to bring people back to if they come to a show or they want to know, oh, how did you do that haircut color? It's like, oh, like what one did we do? Like milkshake, wasn't it? So it's like, oh yeah, the blonde one. It's milkshake, and then it's like, oh yeah, it's because you wanted it to look a little bit sort of like vanilla, and then it's stuff like that. So using words to describe haircuts or colors or concepts.
Remember that, like glass.
Glass.
And I look at those pictures of glass now. It looks like glass. That shiny, beautiful thing. I mean, it did exactly what it did on the tin, really. And I say the milkshake was like that vanilla blonde, which is like just like milk in a bottle, that really nice.
Yeah.
When you pour milk and you can still see the inside of it, and it's trickling down the inside of the back. I love that, and that's how it looked in the texture and everything. So naming haircuts, I think, is a good thing. I think because it gives people a point of reference,
And it brings it right modern day. I mean, like we're saying, like the shag haircut, as iconic as it is, it maybe wouldn't really excite the younger hairdressers coming through today. But giving it like a wolf cut, and then with the Rachel haircut, forward graduation, it's like, oh yeah, the Rachel. I've never watched Friends. It's like, no, but what about a butterfly haircut? So, oh yeah, that sounds quite interesting. What's that? And it's like, well, it's the Rachel. It's a forward graduation. It's stuff like that, and I think it's really good. I mean, when I seen the comments, people sort of saying, "Oh, like HJ, please give it a rest," and everything like this. I was thinking, it's very like small-minded to think this industry isn't going to.
Do you know what I think it is? I could put Derek's comment up there as well. I think that's because I do as well. I love Mia Farrow's and Rosemary Baby, and it is really current today. So change. What changes? Like the techniques fundamentally don't change, but we have access now to products we didn't have before, finishing tools, better brushes, all of those things, more knowledge about how to finish those results. But the techniques remain the same, and like that becomes part of the craft, right? But when you like the Bixie, Wixie, Pixie, whatever, and when people say, "Oh, please stop it already," I think it's down to the fact that because it's changed and it's moving so fast.
Yeah.
Some people don't like the pace of the movement. It's like, oh my God, it's too much of a challenge. Now that I've just perfected this one, and now they're moving on to something else.
Yeah. I've just learned the Bixie. Like, chill out with all these.
I'm getting really I'm cool with the Bixie. Now they want to do a Wixie. I mean, come on, like what will change next? And I think it's down to the pace of movement that people find challenging.
Yeah.
That they don't want to really, be pushed.
And that fear factor of a client coming into the salon and saying, "Oh, I want a Wixie," and the hairdresser being like, "Oh, what?" It's like, "Oh, I've just seen like a Wixie. It's just popped up on Instagram. They're like, oh, yeah, cool. Like, what is it? And they show you. It's like, oh, it's a pixie with bangs sort of thing. But it's like,
and I think that is because hairdressers in that position are being held accountable.
yeah.
They if a client come in, you go, I have no idea what you're talking about. They're like, oh gosh, like, am I ahead of you? So it makes the stylist have to stay in advance of the customer, right?
Which
You
we
have
should.
to know what's the next big thing coming. Not if a customer,
Yeah.
if a customer comes into you and shows you something that's about to blow up, and you're off it, you don't get it. You really need to start doing a bit more work, because it's up to us to have that information. And like, I mean, God, Paul, how much trawling of information do we do when we're researching stuff?
Oh yeah,
Right?
no, and it's not new.
And it isn't just about hair either, is it?
Nah.
About trends, it's about technologies, it's about taking about people's lifestyles, it's about the current climate where we're living in. What does that do to people's psychology of shopping and buying and purchasing? All those things. That's what we find really interesting, and like it adds to the whole. Like when we did the thing in Holland 2 weeks ago, with glass, milk, all of that kind of technique. There was also when we sat down and talked about each composite part of that collection.
Yeah,
it all fitted together, but it also had a backstory of why clients are seeing this. Why is a client going that way? Why is a client with natural hair doing this? Why is that color so important? Why is this shine and basic shape? It wasn't basic, it was a fundamental shape, so important right now. We had all the backstories to those things, and I think that was really important. I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, we spoke about keywords
to the audience, right? To our audience, they really appreciated what we did. They understood when you showed them. It wasn't just the haircut. This is the cut. This is the color. This is the formulation. So the reason behind this is clients are going this way. They go in this way because this is what's happening in society. This is what's happening, university or environmentally or whatever. And the influences they're now impacting on them and their lives and their shopping habits.
Yeah.
So understanding those things, our clients maybe stretch out a visit. They don't go as frequently as they did. Then how do you manage that? How do we control that? Then how do we pull them back in maybe? And giving people reasons why we do those and naming things like gives you a reference point. And I think it's very important. And if
one of the biggest things that we hear on our courses is where people want to pull in new clients. Like they want to get busier, they want to pull in new clients, and they want to pull in that younger audience. And if they're not using the young terminology, the new terminology, when it comes to a haircut or color technique, they're referencing shag, they're going to be pulling in people from that generation. But then when they start promoting a wolf cut, the generation changes and they start bringing in a new audience.
Yeah. I think I think Derek said it, again, trending looks moves people at a high rate of speed.
Yeah.
So it blurs the perspective. It certainly does. And I think that's what frightens a lot of hairdressers, because a lot of hairdressers, in my experience, is that get stuck in a comfort zone. They think they don't, but they just are. And when you challenge them, it can kind of often make them feel a bit scared or just feel uncomfortable. And I think being uncomfortable sometimes is when you're growing. That's not. When you grow, it doesn't mean it's never meant to be comfortable, is it? So you've got to have a bit of pain as you grow.
Yeah.
You got to know your own course.
But no, I think that's again a really hot topic right now. I think when it's causing so much disruption in the industry that people are now getting to the point where it's like please stop pushing this. It's getting to a point, and like we just said, it's that whole fear factor of someone coming into the salon and saying, "Oh, can I have this?" and you don't know what one is.
It's that discomfort. It's that fear.